Hi and hello and welcome to another episode of The Real Show. I, of course, am Fred Slow. Alongside me is producer of all things video in the world of pro wrestling and NWA New Mexico, Duke City Championship Wrestling one, Brandon Ortega. Brandon, welcome to the program.
What up? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you here. You and I work together throughout a million different professional things in our time, not just as professional, but personal friends. And how fortunate we are to have you directing the episodes that we do put onto this very program. Not this one, though. You're out of town, family vacation, and that's why you're sitting in with me to make sure you're keeping up with the product, Brandon.
All right, let's do it.
Go, all right. Yeah, that tracks. That's the thing. Brandon, you've been in, as we start the episode here, Brandon, you've been in TV for like ever.
Well, minus the last 2 years, full time, just working with you the last few years, has been scratching the TV itch and been able to do a little bit of radio also the last few years since I've been out of media full time. And your passion for DCCW, now NWA, New Mexico, like everyone else that works with you, it's contagious.
Yeah.
Getting to be in the building like we were this week back at the El Rey Theater, and like we have a whole bunch of times over the last almost 3 years. And it's a blast. It's a total blast. I do it now because of the people and you, the main reason for getting to work with the NWA New Mexico. And it's been a lot of fun.
It's been an absolute lot of fun, and we'll talk about our journey quite a bit. This is taking you back to December. So I guess we're a little further behind than where I thought we were. But this was an interesting episode because Fernando had caught the COVID literally the week of the show. So I ended up sitting on the broadcast, which I used to do pretty regularly, but I don't really do it all anymore. And it was fun to sit down because I hadn't really worked professionally with Pollo Del Mar yet. And obviously Chris Barrett and I have done about 1 million of these things together. But it's a good little 3-man booth. I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, more the merrier in the booth because you guys will bounce off each other so well, especially when you get Pollo in there with you. And that stinks. That's probably Fernando's only show he's ever missed. Probably. He's been to most of them.
Yeah, he's missed one before. I think we're all at a point now where we missed one at some point in the ownership group. Hobo Hank missed one. Similar thing, had a COVID. It was like 1 year before this. I missed one when my father passed. And then family vacations or otherwise, it just kind of works out that way. But otherwise, I think the only consistent, we went over this the other day, the only person I think that's made every single show is Thunder, which is kind of wild, and I think he's got more matches in the history of the thing than anyone because he's done multiple matches and nights before. And if you know a little bit about the industry, sometimes, guys perform in different capacities, throughout the night, and he's done that a couple times too. So yeah, he's that guy. Speaking of guys who missed a ton of them, Matthew Roble is right there. He was at Utah XFL football or something yesterday, so he didn't make
it. Yeah, no, but that doesn't surprise me about Thunder, and I'm glad you brought up that he's been on shows in varieties of ways.
Yeah,
because he is such a team player and so dedicated to the craft and whatever serves the story, and whatever serves the show. So shout out to him because, he's one of the heartbeats of NWA New Mexico for sure.
Yeah, he's that guy, we did just make an internal announcement the other day. We'll put out a press release here pretty soon, but Thunder and then Charlie 50 have moved into leadership roles with Duke City Championship Wrestling as now here in the state of New Mexico, how fortunate we are to service Bernalillo and Sandoval County, obviously, and, the Albuquerque itself and Rio Rancho. But we do have a vision to run pro wrestling basically every other weekend, here in the state of New Mexico. And Thunder is going to take over that northwest kind of part of the state. And Charlie 50's going to manage the circuit that is the southwest. So, I think it's going to be really neat, to be able to take this product, regularly on the road, and then while it's on the road, be able to introduce talents regionally from those areas. And, the way the industry works is a lot of these workers, they got, they're friends who have a world of talent, but there's only so much roster spots, to give them opportunity to come to New Mexico and check that off their list and be contributors to what we're doing. So we're very excited about it.
Well, that's another stroke of genius and what you guys have done from the jump and evolving,
Yeah.
identifying parts of the organization that can add value outside of Albuquerque. Because obviously our Albuquerque is the home, but
Yeah.
your home's getting bigger the longer, NWA New Mexico is around, and from the jump DCCW has been around. Yeah, it's been fun, not only to watch the shows, all the shows I've got to be at and be a part of, whether in the video capacity, having a camera in my hand, or having a headset like this on my head, and getting to communicate with the great crew you have working. Shout out to Noah, Logan, Ethan, RJ, Brian. Justin was working last night. That crew,
Eric.
Eric, thank you. If I miss anyone else, please remind me. The video we're watching right now, this crew's been, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is it about a year now? The crew we've had?
The 1 year anniversary was yesterday's show.
It was. It was. Yeah. That's what they told me.
And these young bloods over 5 Door Features, which, by the way, I utilize for all kinds of stuff. They're all in their early 20s. They're all former PBS to some capacity students through the University of New Mexico system that yearn to create, and this inspiration, I think I've talked about this on one of these before, but not with you. But I was working with Billy Corgan and NWA in Tampa, and they do their studio recordings at PBS Studio. And it's really nice, but it's not what we do at the El Rey. It's 200 people-ish, at a studio, and it's awesome. It's the coolest. But that's when the idea of reaching out to the local PBS kind of spurred from, and
really
that talent there. Yeah. And not working directly with PBS, but the talent of those people. Because, I think that organization draws quality humans, and how fortunate we were to be able to excite their talent about what we were doing. And pro wrestling, specifically NWA New Mexico's pro wrestling, is better because 5 Door Features, produces this 4K effort.
Yeah.
Every single TV taping, and I'm proud of them. Also, they do a bunch of stuff for my day job. They do a bunch of stuff for the Boys and Girls Club. I just made some efforts in connecting them with the local rugby organization in town. They're going to do some stuff with them. There's just a lot of talent.
I've seen them everywhere. I've seen them at Ice Subs Park, where I get to work every day now, full time. And I'm going to age ourselves a little bit by saying this, but those guys that we're talking about, 5 Door Features, and really shout out to, in particular, Noah, who we were talking about earlier, is kind of the correct me if I'm wrong, when we're working these shows, he's kind of leading the way and setting things up, and ultimately getting everyone on the same page. And man, the first time I ever met them, that crew, you had like this vibe that they're a team. Like sometimes you meet a group of people and they all kind of seem like they got individual personalities, individual intentions, but from the jump they came to you as a team. And I was really, really, really lucky that from the jump working with them, they welcomed me into their team and let me have the role that you envisioned working with them, which basically, for, just kind of peel the curtain back for folks, I show up and the guys have already set everything up. All I got to do is put a headset on. And now beyond that, I do talk to all of our team that get in the ring, and the team that are behind that curtain that you can see in the far side, and that are working really, really hard to make that show click. I do a lot of that, but when it comes to actually holding cameras and pressing buttons, I don't really have to do a lot of that. I get to kind of orchestrate a little bit more, and that's not easy for people at their age, to have a person that they don't even know, but you did vouch for in me, and I really, really appreciate that. They just kind of accepted me like open arms. And same ditto back to them. I saw their energy and I saw how hungry they were to be a part of something and kick ass at something. And with them being in their 20s, they're learning every day what their journey is and what their role is with NWA in New Mexico, and they love being a part of it. And that's contagious because like it starts with you at the top, all the way down the line of the roster. And they're killing it, and it's just getting better and better every show. That's the beauty of it. The equipment that we're using and the communication we have, it only gets better every single show.
Well, I'm going to read you a text because this is a private text, so I'm not going to say who it's from, but I'm going to say it's from an NWA talent. If that's a safe enough sentence here on this podcast, I didn't have to ask for permission. Thank you again for having me. Great show, even better kid. And that's
nice.
That's the thing that I don't necessarily know if the fans can see from their seats, but I think they do. And whenever they have a contribution, if it's social media in person, and so many of these fans were at arm's length from multiple times a year, or 8 to 10 TV tapings plus now a live show, where they say, "Hey Fred, can we modify this camera placement? Hey Fred, can we make sure these guys move around? Hey Fred, can we alter this seating thing or whatever?" And the answer is yes, if I can. If I can, I will. And I think there's always, not always. I think it's often within reason. So I think that's why we bring in guys like yourself, who's been in broadcast television for, brother, like 20 years almost, which is crazy.
And, long time.
And how fortunate you and I were when we started our entertainment careers 20 years ago to have people in positions to help us, and how fortunate we are now to be in positions to help others, and we do that not just through our own expertise, but it's taking that feedback from the audience. It's taking that feedback from the consumer, and communicating it through. And that's, that's why you're here. That's why we're doing this episode together was, when we first brought in Outdoor Features, they made movies, and they made television, like interview style shows. And they made some commercials, and, they did really, really good at that. But they hadn't made pro wrestling. And you had been still familiar with pro wrestling from not just attending, but you broke us publicly in your time at the local news broadcast with our very first TV story from pro wrestling. You were there on day one, 3 years ago when this thing started. So I think pairing their expertise and art, and then giving them direction on how to use their brush on a canvas, I think has been just like a really good example of how all these different elements can come together and create what we're seeing here, which is a really great independent pro wrestling product. But again, I don't necessarily know what our audience consumes outside of our product, so if they're accustomed to a bunch of fan cam stuff around the country, this is the best thing you've ever seen. But it's not quite WWE, but it's the best thing you've ever seen.
It's a testament to, we have guys like Hobo Hank, Thunder, Charlie 50, Antoine, aka Turbo Tony. You have some guys that have been in this world for a long, long time. But then you've got some guys that are in the ring that are within their first few years. Ronnie right there on the screen, going up against a veteran like Valak. And you've applied that same formula to outside the ring and behind the stage. You have some people that have all kinds of experience and some things that kind of, have some similarities to putting on a show of this nature. And I love that you use the word art, because wrestling is an art form, and putting on a show is an art form. And when you use the word art form, there's not just one way to do it, and there's not just one team to use. You can really make it happen in a million different ways, which sounds easy, but actually it's quite difficult to put on, something like this with that many different cast of characters in and out of the ring. And it's just a beautiful thing, to see where you guys are at nearly 3 years in. And it feels like it was yesterday that I was in the El Rey Theater. First show. I was at KOB at the time, so I drove during my dinner break to catch the very, very beginning of the show, watch you step into the ring for the first time. And yeah, man, it's been a wild ride. Just from my point of view, can't imagine how wild it's been for you.
Yeah, it's fever dream, I guess, is a little bit of a way to describe it, right? Because that art aspect that you just mentioned, if we're gonna simplistically make art painting, for this example, you can go and find Michelangelo and you can commission him to paint your house, and it's still painting, I guess, but you're not necessarily using the right artist, for the right medium. And whenever you get these guys, and I'll use like Johnny Magna here as an example, who is a top 10 ranked power slapper in the world, which is,
And before he was with DCCW, there
yeah,
was no wrestling background. It was rugby,
yeah, in
and
football.
there was in football.
Yeah.
Any stage performance on his resume before this?
Not to my knowledge,
Total,
and
so with that in mind, a total freaking natural,
yeah,
that just
every,
like, that just really clicked. Something
and,
clicked for him that first show. He came in as a rugby player. Literally, he came in wearing a rugby jersey.
yeah,
First time he was in the stage, and and then he evolved to where he is right there. Learning how to fall out of the ring. And hopefully not hurt himself. Too much.
I met him through some partnership stuff with rugby, and there was
Right.
a house show in Albuquerque, and how fortunate I've been to work with WWE for as long as I have, and just got my WrestleMania credentials this week. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of thing. And we're at a house show here in Rio Rancho at the Rio Rancho Event Center, who's a proud sponsor of what we do. And we get these little suites to events at the Rio Rancho Event Center, and Johnny Magna's in there with us at that time, his shoot name, and he's in there with some rugby guys who I invited, and he he comes up to me, introduces himself, and he's a big boy. We're both big boys. We're both 6'6" and just
Say, one of the few people you meet in Albuquerque that actually be eye to eye with you.
And he says, hey, I'm my shoot name, and I'm going to be a pro wrestler. And I go, yeah, man. Cool. I just started the wrestling gimmick, and maybe, strong maybe. And
what a thing to say.
Yeah.
And mean it. And he meant it.
Yeah, and he partnered up with some guys in town, and started rolling around on the mat, and then brought in some other rugby buddies, the Renegade Ricky Rebel, and he had a setback in his personal life. He kicked out of a really tough situation, but now he hosted the Before show.
He did so good. Him and Van did so great last night.
Yeah. Well, and that's an example too, what we're talking about, right? With that expertise versus enthusiasm, where we've gone through kind of a lot of pre-show hosts, kind of a lot, local comedians, if people want to be involved. But I've always known that Van, my co-host at radio, he's the best one. I've always, like, I could just hand Van the mic and it would be the most engaging professional thing of all time, and it would be set it and forget it. But I hadn't done that. It was give other people opportunity, and that pairing with Van and Ricky was, I mean, 45 minutes of the funniest fan interaction that you could possibly have. And then I don't know, an hour later, Ricky jumps over and does commentary for a Johnny Magna match, and an hour after that, Van and I sat down and do our social media live stream match, and just go, okay, not only are these guys artists, not only are these guys painters, but on their palette, they got a lot of different colors, and they got a lot of different ways to interpret direction. And even this story is still going on for us, oh God, this is when he froze the clock. I forgot all about this. So Valak freezes the clock, which is
magic, just straight magic.
Which is the world of pro wrestling. But even like Rusty Rutherford right there, like our photographer, he was a pro wrestler, and he's, now our photographer, and I mean, obviously weddings and kind of all the things that pay the bills is photography. But
man. That's so funny. You've got people that were wrestlers now taking on outside the ring roles, and then vice versa. You have someone like Johnny that came in, not a wrestler, but fully wanted to be. And I won't name any names, but I am aware that there are members of your team that are not currently in the ring that want to and are working on that.
Yeah.
And that is so fun to watch, someone chase I don't know if it's a dream of the person I'm talking about, but just chase something new, try something new. It's such a hard thing to do, when you already have a lot going on in life, and to take on something of this magnitude. Because I consider this, the highest art form, pro wrestling.
It shakes.
And
it's
yes,
360 degrees of fans, and it's real time, and it's live, and it's music.
And it can be scary, to jump into this world and like look at Johnny. I mean, he's such a natural. I mean, he's basically been like that since the first time he stepped foot in the ring.
Yeah.
And but it took hard work, and he's still working hard. He was just telling me after the show last night that he works with Chelsea nonstop, like all the time, every day. It's dedication, and
he'll be in Las Vegas the day before WrestleMania doing Power Slap. He's on the biggest stage.
Yeah.
And Fortunate is
it's Vegas. Vegas this year?
Yeah. The day before WrestleMania. They know what they're doing. You know what I mean? And how fortunate Duke City Championship Wrestling is in this audience. But you're talking about those levels, right? You could be talking about a lot of people as far as wanting to get into the business and learn some other ropes. I think you're talking about a cameraman right now. And as you're talking about this, one of the camera guys with 5 Door Features, name not released, for the sake of this broadcast, but he 3 days a week over at the training center, where it's, he's learning bumps, and he's learning, exactly what it takes to get in there and be a pro wrestler, and he's athletic as hell too. I mean, I just like, he's got some of those traits you need to get going.
And this isn't everything, because everyone's characters and bodies, come in different shapes. But this person we're talking about, he is already getting jacked in a short amount of time. He was not all that jacked just a couple of months ago. And can't wait to see where that goes.
Well, same thing here with Lowell. Lowell is in the training. We own the Thungeon, right, which is where we train, and she's in there 3 days a week. It's like, she's great at this. She's got characters. She's got a look. She's got this backstage stuff figured out. But could she be the next Enchanted Champion? Strong possibility. Could she be a big contributor, maybe in a referee capacity or otherwise? Yeah, that too.
You just had your first female referee last night.
Yeah, Raina Rivera made her too. And that was a really special thing. She comes over from Salt Lake. She's part of the Manny Lemons Devotion Wrestling Camp. And she's a pro, and we've had her down when we do appearances at schools. We've had her at Comic-Cons. She's one of those super versatile. And, same thing here. Tommy, 2 Scoops. Like, I've booked both of these guys to be in commercials here in town. Like, Tommy is currently doing a movie, and I think we know, Antoine's story of, physical fitness, and always helps so many people, not just, change their physical being, but their mental and emotional state as well. These guys are all a million different layers outside of the character that you see. And they're all wildly impressive.
Tommy, by the way, is there a catchier 2 words in the NWA New Mexico than 2 Scoops?
No.
Right? My son, after he saw his first show last year, for the next week, when we be getting in the car going to school, out of nowhere, like no, just out of the blue, 2 Scoops, just getting, like, maybe he heard the number 2 or heard me say the word 2, and then that led him to say 2 Scoops, not just saying 2 Scoops, but 2 Scoops. The way he delivered it was exactly like the crowd does.
Yeah, he's a special talent, man. And same thing here with these guys, right? We're in our main event in this episode now, and this is La Migra, which with today's political climate is as relevant as anything, right? And Charlie 50, who was 3 years ago, main evented that inaugural show that we had, and Chris Watson, who, when he was originally coming up from the El Paso-ish area, not to completely, he was coming up as a white meat baby face, and he had the beard shaved. He's real handsome, and I go, oh, this guy is, we're gonna send this guy to the moon on the good guy side. And for whatever reason, it wasn't connecting with the crowd, which fine. I've obviously failed at a lot of things in my life, and I'm like, well, that quite didn't work. And Chris went away for a couple months, and he's wrestled all over, and then we book a show in Portales. We're doing pro wrestling at the um, Eastern New Mexico, Western Oregon homecoming game. And Western Oregon is a lot of teams' homecoming game, if you know what I mean. And we're out there running pro wrestling, and Chris comes in, and he's a big Texas Tech guy, right? Big Texas Tech Raiders, right? Texas
Red
Tech,
Raiders.
Red Raiders. And he comes in and he goes, "Hey, just let me run heel. Let me tell these Greyhound football fans what real football is like." And he goes with the full bad guy gimmick, and it's the funniest thing I've ever seen in person. And I go, "Okay, there you are. Like, it took this long for me to find you. Like, come back." And he's come back, and he's, I don't know, booed louder than anyone. I don't know how else to describe that.
He gets a reaction. Yes, he eats it
yes.
up.
As positive as these guys' reaction is as negative as his, and those reactions are really important. Hey, Elle right there with the pink title. She's in the front row every show.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think you know this, but every year I host the Rio Grande Down Syndrome Network Gala, which is a lot of fun. But because I'm an idiot, our next event, May the 2nd, which is our anniversary birthday show, same night as the Rio Grande Down Syndrome Denim and Diamonds. So I can't be there, but Elle will be there, because she performs. And
yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, we have a game that night. I can't even go, so thanks a lot for that.
Oh, Ice Stoves Baseball.
Yeah, but five door feature will they'll hold it down.
It's hard during the summer, man. Like, there's so much. Well, and even the show we did last night, we had a show, the United, which is the soccer in town. They had a day game soccer game. Obviously, the No Kings protest drew several thousand people downtown. PBR is in town.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was a ton of things going on.
And to my knowledge, Fred, all of them drew well.
Everything
drew. We sold out. United always has a great home opener. PBR is massively popular. It's a perfect example. This past Saturday was everyone can enjoy something. There's something for everybody on any given weekend in Albuquerque.
Also, ambulances were at a premium. Like, it was standby service was at a premium yesterday. These two dudes did so good for so long. This is and I mean, obviously we're talking about a December show, but this is the one that started the the downfall of Turbo Test.
Is this Turbo's last show?
Ish, yeah.
Close to. Yeah, no, I think maybe Turbo appeared one more time, because now it's full on Antoine, right? Is Turbo gone?
So he has a run in later in this episode, like in the main. But
no, but I'm saying, like, currently, like, now fast forward to now 3 months later. It's Turbo's rear view now.
Yeah, and because Turbo Tony, who was, when we started this promotion 3 years ago, was heel, and did a really good job of being a bad guy, and then had the opportunity to make some decisions and help Tommy Test, and then gains the favor of the crowd. Well, anyways, whenever he was going back to the heel character, it was, well, let's change the name. Let's change the name of the heel character to Giovanni, and it's a smart name, but I'm literally in the crowd last night as he's wrestling, and we had this really fun gauntlet match last night. Just a really clever story where, if you're a regular fan, you think that he's going to beat everyone up because he's beating up the world right now, but two scoops, his music hits, and it's a big disruption to the thing. It's really smart. But I'm sitting with the doctor for Duke City Championship Wrestling, and literally in the middle of the match, he leans over to me and says, "Hey, is Giovanni, is that Turbo?" And I go, "Yeah, no, the same guy." He goes, "Oh my God." He goes, I get it now. And I'm like, I know. like you run neurosurgery over at the local hospital, but
you mean, talk about full commitment to the change, because I mean, low key, I mean, Turbo's in good shape right here.
Yeah.
But Giovanni is noticeably slimmer.
He's got an
right now. And then a little patch of hair going on now.
Yeah.
And then a little attire color change, and we got a whole new person now.
Yeah, in the bad way. And like Tony and Tommy, for instance, like Tommy is the strongest human being. There's not another way to describe that, right?
Well, I mean, for me, it's his energy. His
Yeah.
energy is off the charts. I don't think anyone can match his energy in the whole organization. I mean, when he comes in to the ring, entering the arena, our theater for the, for his entrance, it's unmatched. His just pure adrenaline he brings. Everyone's got different energies. Like Hobo Hank's energy is a whole other kind of energy, but he gets the loudest ovation because of his vibe that he brings. But Tommy, pure energy, from a pure energy standpoint, yeah, he's top of the bill for me.
Well, there's the other side of the ring too. Like here, Chris Watson, that's a really good shot of him. Where when Chris Watson was doing babyface stuff, tights and no shirt and looking the part or whatever, but the sloppy cut off tee, the beer branded, it's like how you present, and yeah, he's done such a great job of really leaning into that change as well. So you kind of got, I don't know, a lot of really complex characters here that you don't notice subtly changing, over time. It's like you don't notice your fingernails grow, but by the time you look at it, you got, you need to cut your nails. Like, and these guys are doing it over and over again. And our roster, although we went through a lot of people when we started this thing, was trying to find the right fits and, seeing what draws and what doesn't draw and figuring out the business end. But we have roughly 20 performers a show, roughly, for 8 matches. And of that, there's a consistency of about 12 of them, and then other guys we cycle through, every other TV taping or so. But that doesn't mean we only have 20 characters. We have...
No. Your universe is quite big now. I mean, what's your maybe this exact number, but ballpark, what do you think ballpark is the amount of characters that have appeared from day one to now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can actually pull a thing up for you real quick.
I'm gonna guess, just as me guessing, it's closer to 70.
I think you are close to correct. I have all the roster cards here. So if I go to and this doesn't count everyone, but this is close. We have roughly 100 roster cards.
Okay.
And if I were to go on the website, so go to DukeCityChampionshipWrestling.com. It's got our entire roster right here. Pulling it up.
Wait, we've had 100 shows?
No, we've had 100 characters of some sort.
Characters. Gotcha.
But some of them are broadcasts and some of them are referees and stuff. So
okay, yeah.
All right, so it looks here like of the 100 we've had, 74 have done something in the ring. Okay. Well, that doesn't count referees.
So I was pretty close.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, 78. So, yeah, that's
it's a lot.
Staggering. Yeah, and then a bunch of the people you never see. Like Ryan, for example, has been the ring the bell guy at every single show. Ryan's never been on.
Shout out Ryan.
Kevin has been back of the house every single show. You don't.
Kevin's not missed one, right?
I don't think he was part of the first one because I think he was a fan at the first one. Kind of the same story with Fernando.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I do remember that about Fernando, that he came to the first show and then had to be a part of it moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I think Tommy missed the first show because we didn't know each other yet. But there's some, other examples of that kind of thing where, once we, found the right guys. Rusty, for example, has been, I think, at every show, and he was one of the first calls I made. I got him on reference from he's a really good photographer, obviously, but I got him on a referral from the guys that were running Phase 1 Pro Wrestling. So it was rest in peace, our friend Ray Basura, but Ray had worked with Rusty for years in pro wrestling. It was like, hey, if you're gonna have a photographer, it's Rusty, and he had kind of done it everywhere. Same thing with Adam Merrick. Adam Merrick, our ring announcer, he was in the ownership group of Destiny Pro Wrestling, and he did great with them for a long time. But it was, if you're gonna have a ring announcer, because obviously my first thought was called Dylan Storm. It was get it, the guy I'm familiar with in town, and
the voice of Isotopes Park and
UNM athletics.
Yeah, and all UNM athletics. Yep.
We could run the list on things he's done, and because that's the world I came from, sports. And they were like, well, yeah, they were like, Fred, whoever you find, I'm sure will be great, because it's not like you're going to recommend a slouch, but the guy that knows, hailing from and one fall and all the little cadences, that's Adam Merrick. And and not to give all these stories, but Adam Merrick and I have been friends for about 3 years, and how fortunate I was to go with he and his now wife to their wedding in Las Vegas. It's like the
Nevada or New Mexico.
Nevada, yeah. So they were out there for WrestleMania, and they were like, Fred, if you're in town, like, come to the wedding, Bubba. And I was like,
when you look at it as like a batting average that you've had from the jump, the amount of people that have stuck around from the inaugural show, it's quite high. The percentage of people.
Yeah, I agree.
And maybe it's maybe even more fair to count for maybe show 2 or 3 on, because there was just some people that didn't even know, about it, or couldn't make it or whatever. And then, I would just like the amount of people that have stuck around from their first show on. It's very, very high.
Yeah,
obviously it's not 100%, but no, there's no wrestling organization in the history of pro wrestling in the world that has 100% retention.
Yeah, and it's like any sports team. I mean, you can have a team that has a really great season.
Rosters change.
That roster will never be the same. And it's this is, I think, factual for everything. But a guy said to me one time, it was at our very first show 3 years ago. This stuck with me. Joel Lewevino, who runs rugby and runs literally international rugby for the USA and Mexico, and he's been a music producer for years. He's just a guy who's got a lot of talent. And he said to me at the show, I was like, hey man, like, this is a really great start here. Like, I think we got a real opportunity, whatever I said, right? Paraphrasing. And he says to me, yeah, this is really great for you, Fred, but this is a swan song for a lot of these guys. And I thought, wow.
Joel said that?
Yeah. He goes, what is your beginning is the end of the road for some. And it kind of put it in perspective for me, where it was, you're not wrong. This is the thing that so many of these guys had, claimed to be striving for, not just workers, but everyone, where it was, can I have live in my community television, pro wrestling monthly, or every 6 weeks like we do it now. And for me, good start, and for them, all they ever wanted, and you go, oh cool, like, there's absolute different aspects, or at least perceptions of this thing.
That is really cool to understand that perspective of, you have people that have gotten their start here, you've had people that kind of finished their pro wrestling days now, and then you've got a huge variety of people that are in the middle of it. And the first person that comes to mind that is now at the highest level is Jacob Fatu. He had the one appearance with us where we spent the whole day with them, and then watched him tear the roof off of the El Rey Theater.
And then a month later, go to the WWE.
A month later on the WWE roster. So is he SmackDown or Raw now?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, it's all the same kind of, but
okay, he kind of floats around.
But you're correct. And he's sitting front row at baseball on Netflix. And he's part of the feature of the thing. And I can give you more examples. He's a really good one, but like, if we're talking about like Pretty City Express, who made their debut at the NWA, and I'm going to say opportunity that we gave them. No, I met Devin wrestling for Phase 1 Pro Wrestling, and he told me about his, very talented tag team partner class, and would we? Yeah, we would be interested. And it's, those guys find the success that, again, deserved is like one of those entitling words, right? But that they've earned. No one gave it to them. And it's, same for somebody, the other end of that spectrum is Valentina Loca, who worked for us for many shows, and she's a New Mexico native, and unfortunately caught a tough situation with an injury, and now she's gone on to become a really great trainer, in Davenport, and she's, doing some booking and some producing, and she comes back and she gave us Lonzo. With Lonzo, we wouldn't have.
Lonzo's great.
Yeah.
Lonzo's great. Yeah, excited for people to see his bout with Saleh.
Just real quick, Brandon, because obviously we're getting closer to the end here, but the Instagram comments have been wildly kind on this broadcast. Lots of positive words about yesterday, lots of positive words about the production stuff, and thank you, Instagram.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can pull this up without.
I didn't think to look at it.
Now, when it's the StreamYard platform is interesting because it won't show it to you on the thing. I have to open it on another window. I'm going to try to. I don't know if I can do this without showing you the number. I don't want to show you the number. I can't do it. But anyways, we got our first Meta payment the other day.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So like that, these Instagram efforts, the likes, the shares, the reposts, the reblogs, and same thing with Facebook, where it's you don't have to buy a t-shirt. You don't necessarily have to go to the shows, but those things that cost you no money, those interactions, those updates or whatever verbiage you want to use, that physically pays off for us, which is kind of incredible. Because why? It's like, how do we end up in such a fortuitous situation to where the algorithm is excited enough about the product that it gives it to strangers? Like, that is a super interesting world we live in. Also, New Mexico Homies, real estate company in town, they just started sponsoring all of our social media. Like, that's how prevalent, that these kind of efforts that we're doing are making.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know, bunch of tentacles on this octopus. That's pro wrestling, Brandon.
Can I put my my fan hat on and ask you a quick question about someone from the roster? So you announced Fallen, had joined a program. Is that correct? With what program did she join? I think there's other fans have been wondering about her that may have missed that announcement because she had such a big presence when she was here. What is she up to now?
Yeah, so great question. So Fallen Gray, who is a Tucson native, she's in Vegas now. I would identify her personally as a very good friend and professionally as a really good hand. Okay. But she was invited to the WWE Performance Center last month, and this is her story to tell, not mine, but I'm giving you the version that I think is publicly cool. And she goes out to the Performance Center, and they do this quarterly or, twice quarterly. And the idea is the best indie guys around the country, the world, the best indie guys around the world.
Wow.
And I couldn't tell you how many were in her program, maybe 8, maybe 10. But what WWE does through the WWE ID program, which is WWE Independent Development, is they find you, identify you, and they say, hey, here's your pathway to, a potential career in WWE. And not to give the numbers or anything on it, but there's, incentive to do well and, follow direction on the indie scene and make sure you're dedicated to the craft. But I'm gonna give you like a really good example. A really good example is, hey, Brandon, you're a really good worker in the ring. You're really great at being a bad guy. Like, everyone hates you everywhere you go. Can you go on a little 6-month babyface run just so we can see? And then you go out there and you start telling the story, from another viewpoint. And that's exactly what the WWE ID program is. And then the gentleman that got her into it, he's kind of the best one at identifying people around the country. He's been doing it forever. So she got the effort to do that, and she's going to return May the 2nd. So she'll be back May the 2nd. She's going to fight.
There you go.
Yeah, Dre is making her debut, and we're really excited about her. She's been tearing up West Texas forever. So having her out will be awesome because they will fight. And here's a fun fact, fandom to you. Fallen Gray's never won a match in Duke City Championship Wrestling. So if she can get over Andrea, I can only imagine what that celebration will be for her. But she's absolutely top tier, Brandon. And if it's WWE, and I would personally prefer if she, gave NWA a real opportunity. But she will make any organization she is part of better, with her enthusiasm. So yeah, she's top tier. I can give you some other examples too of, individuals that have given us resources or time and gone on to do really great things. Journey Fatu is a really good example. He's done a bunch of stuff around the country. Saleh Taylor, who's our current champion, has had a lot of opportunity. Tommy is a really good example. These, it won't be long before these guys get some of the biggest ones. Tiffany Nieves, who came out with this last night, she'll go and, walk in front of the, Puerto Rican Pride Parade in New York, in a couple of weeks, and you'll go, this is a big deal. It's a big deal.
That was a treat to watch Tiffany from the moment she got to El Rey to what she was in the last match of the night.
Yeah.
She works hard. She works really, really hard, and goes to show why she's had the success that she's had. I don't want to ever give people too much of the inside baseball stuff, because certain things are sacred, but I think people need to know that she works really, really hard and takes it as serious as anybody does. And it shows in the ring, and it shows in a video, that she popped up on our social media stuff. Yep. She was a pleasure to watch work last night.
Top tier. She's absolute top tier. And you're going to see her at least one last time. May the 2nd. It's birthday bash number 3. Tickets are available at dccwtickets.com. I'll check it right now. I checked it this morning. We've sold, this was our biggest first day sale we'd ever had last night, which was very cool. For
May 2nd?
Yeah, for May 2nd. You'll skip it because you don't care, you said. But
does it have work? The team that actually employs me.
Well, I mean,
full time.
Yeah.
Full time.
But yeah, it was a very good day for I got quote unquote pre-sale, but
congrats. That's great.
Yeah, final words, Brandon, before I cut you loose.
Oh, shameless plug to the Albuquerque Ice Topes. Our season is underway, and the home opener is Tuesday. So Tuesday through Sunday, we'll have our first homestand, and we have day games on Thursdays and
Isn't that
Sundays.
Cool? That is so cool.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, my first Ice Topes game of the year will be this Easter Sunday, so I'll be out there at Ice Topes on Sunday. Yeah, I got to be in Dallas for the weekend for NWA wrestling, but I'm leaving early on Sunday, catching a flight, landing and driving straight to the ballpark because day game.
Wow. Are you going to make the egg hunt? Will you make that with the family that you're bringing?
We'll see.
We'll see. Okay. We'll see.
Brandon,
the Easter Bunny is coming. Also, just saying.
What about the Orbit Bunny?
Sunday. Orbit's coming.
But
Orbit's gonna have it. Orbit's gonna have a sidekick on Sunday.
I love it. Poor Brandon Ortega director of wrestling at the El Rey, a Duke City Championship Wrestling product for myself. Fred Slow, who's the lone professional promoter. Good job, everyone. Keep breathing.